on? Welcome back to Desire to Inspire. It's your mama's favorite podcast. Me and Freddie, you already know we're here. We are here with the man, the myth, the legend, Barefoot Will. What's going on, bro?
Man, so
Barefoot
excited.
Will.
Dude, my number one question is
Mhm.
why is it Barefoot Will if your name's Austin?
Yeah, so pretty common question actually. My first name is William,
Okay.
and like back in high school, all my buddies called me Willard. And after that, I was like, I don't really want to carry that on. It just sounds a little too South Arkansas for me. So I'm kind
Yeah.
of ready to branch away from that. So when I hopped on Twitter, actually, Aubrey was like, "You need something a little bit cooler," and she came up with Barefoot Will, and derived from
Okay.
my first name, William. So yeah, that's where
So
that
do you
came.
go by Austin more than not though?
Yeah, a lot of people are calling me Will now, though, and I
Yeah.
just registered to both. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So like what does Aubrey call you?
Austin.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
that's what I
always
grew up being called.
Yeah, dude, I was like, I'm looking, I'm like, hold on. His name's Austin. When I met you, you introduced yourself as Austin. I'm like, but he
Yeah,
goes by Barefoot. I've been confused this whole time trying to figure it out.
either one's fine, man, for
All
sure.
right, cool, cool.
Yeah,
All
Freddie,
right,
it's good to
well,
meet you, dude.
Yeah,
By the
great
way,
meeting you too.
yeah,
I
I
always
excited
forget
to get
that
to know
you
you.
don't know anybody on here, Freddie.
I do not. I was actually just on the phone with my buddy Tone, and he goes, "All right, we'll go have fun recording your podcast." He's like, "When are you going to get somebody on that you know?" And he was like, "It's always Dylan's guest and this and that." And I was like,
Our
"Dylan's
guest,
been
man.
building this
We're a team.
community for. We are a team." I was like, "And Dylan's been building this community for shit, what, more than 10 years on Twitter."
Mm.
I mean, you really
Yeah, but
got
I mean,
serious.
really like two. Like actually like in it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, it's been great, man. I'm excited to meet you, excited to hear your story, ask some questions. Obviously, I looked into you a little bit, so I know a gist, but I kind of like coming into these blind and just figuring out who you are, what your story is, impact you're trying to make on this world. And so I'm just going to start off, Dylan. Just so people know, I feel like we always jump straight into it, and the like audience doesn't get to know like a little bit of a background to know like where you've come from, what your mission is, whatever it is, and your elevator pitch, I guess. So I guess that's where I wanted to start is what's your elevator pitch? What's your purpose in life that you want to like portray? And then we can dive into it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, what a great question, man. And that's kind of an ever evolving answer for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
as of recently, I've really come to realize that my main goal is to be a super authentic guy. No matter if you meet me in person, online, that I'm going to be that same guy. I do have quite a large mission, but at the same time, just trying to build the people that are around me up as much as I can be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the forefront of that, I've just realized is like if I'm putting God first, man, it's kind of impossible for that not to happen. The mission for me lately is just to be the window for people to see God through me,
Okay.
and so that's kind of been the mission as of lately. Like my faith has just been gotten, it's just gotten super strong. But I never want to be the type of Christian that is inapproachable or
Mm-hmm.
inhuman, because man, we are all just so superhuman,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to continue to be like a G and a guy that's so approachable, and to continue going forward. Like people can just learn so much through me, and then going forward, like I just cannot wait to make more and more friends and more connections. I want to expand as much as possible in every way possible. I have
Mm-hmm.
a brand that I'm trying to build. You can see Dylan's got his shirt on, Rove Outdoor Experience. And then there's a huge mission behind what the experience part is behind Rove Outdoor Experience. It's taken so many people into the woods or into these locations where they might not be able to camp, or they don't know what gear they need to camp, or they just never have an opportunity to go outdoors and separate, to be still, to go where there's not so much noise in their life,
Mm-hmm.
and to give and provide that opportunity. And it's like an all-inclusive experience as well. So once you get to where we're going, man, you can just literally be there for the ride, and I'll take care of everything. And then with obviously the Barefoot Will side of things, is just to raise a ton of awareness about foot health, strength, mobility, uh, building your foundation. And it kind of parallels to life, right? You got to set a
Mm-hmm.
super solid foundation in order to optimize yourself, your body. So, kind of a trifecta or just a broad mission, but intertwined. That's kind of Barefoot Will, his circle right now.
Yeah, I
Oh
love
yeah.
that. Yeah, I see and very interested. I definitely want to touch on this foot health because
Mhm.
I think even that relates back to um a certain aspect of like faith, like connecting with the earth and like nature and everything like that. Which we have somebody in our DTI community that's always preaching on take your shoes off, take your socks off, go on a walk, connect with the earth. And so I want to get into that. But first
Mhm.
thing first is, you come from an extensive background of going through school to become a physical therapist, putting all that time into um, education and the path that physical therapy takes, which I had an uncle that went through it. I know that it's long, and that you put in a lot of work for it. So what was that transition point where physical therapy might have not been the answer anymore and you wanted to start your own journey to make these impacts that you're trying to achieve, for the people around you and to spread this positivity?
Yeah. So, like, I graduated therapy school in 2016
Mm-hmm.
and worked in a clinic that was in a town where there were two Division II colleges and like 4 or 5 surrounding high schools. And we were attached to a gym. So we had like a really high athletic influx of patients in combination with the typical orthopedic type patients and the elderly as well. But after I left that clinic of about 2.5 years, I went into home health and mainly went because I moved towns and like you can make a ton of money in home health,
Mm-hmm.
especially as a physical therapist. And it gave me a little bit more free time, but dude, the therapy side of things was just so kind of monotonous. My skills weren't being challenged. It was the same thing over and over again, typically, and we were super limited by what we could do due to insurance billing. We could only go see a patient like once every other week sometimes, and just based off of how the body works, physical adaptation requires repetition, right? And it requires repetition often.
Mm-hmm.
So at the kind of the 2 year mark when I was in home health, I started to get really burnt out, but I was still continuing to do that because I actually sent my wife back to physical therapy school as well. So I was the only provider of income at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I continued to work that job. And by the end of like the 3rd year, Aubrey, my wife, was about to graduate. And I was kind of getting to the point where I was thinking, well, once she graduates, I might actually branch away from home health and go back to something that I enjoy more in the outpatient setting. So during this time, when I was in the first clinic, is when I discovered what barefoot shoes were, and I started to apply what I was learning to my patients in that clinic, and I was getting a lot of great results because of the stuff that I had learned. Anyway, transitioned to where I left home health. Me and Aubrey picked up everything, left Arkansas, moved to Florida. I got in a clinic that I was able to, take the skills I had learned and the knowledge I had learned and really just dive deep into throwing that out into my clientele, into my
Mm-hmm.
patients. And the results were like just through the roof. Like the therapists were asking me, dude, like, I just want to know as much as I can from you. Everybody's having like such great results. And that was an awesome time for me. So the only thing that kind of took me away from physical therapy was the parts that you can't control, man, and that's like the insurance regulations, the restrictions. You get a diagnosis code from the doctor, and even though they might be having low back pain, the origination of their problem could be with their foundation, their feet, ankles, their knees, or their hips. But insurance does not like to cover you doing ankle and knee and hip exercises if the diagnosis code is for their low back. They want to see like you're doing electrical stimulation for their back, or low back stretches and exercises, whatever it may be. So I just realized that my skills and my knowledge were being suppressed by external factors, and I just really needed to find a way to separate myself from that. So that's when I jumped into um, hiring Zach as a coach, basically the week after I started that job in Florida, I took a week off to go spend a week with him in Tampa to build out my business. So, and then from that point on, man, I had the idea of taking people on guided camping experiences. And that's what I approached Zach about. And he was like, man, that's a great idea, but convincing strangers on the internet to go camping with you without knowing you is kind of a hard task. So let's use your knowledge. And you're already putting on a little bit on Twitter, some basic foot health knowledge. And he's like, let's just run with that, build a rapport, and then we'll see what we can run up. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now.
Where's this whole like kind of camping background come from? Like, did you grow up doing this kind of camping, or like what kind of led you down that path to do like because it's not like I camp or I've been camping too, but I'm like, okay, I'm not doing what you do. So like, how did you kind of get into that lane?
Yeah, I did grow up. My parents just took my sister and I. We would go, in a pop-up camper, a tent. We'd take the fishing boat with us multiple weekends out of the year. Maybe we'd take a couple of days off of school and go camping at campgrounds mostly. But I just super fell in love with being on the lake or the river. I grew up a big duck hunter in high school. I'm always in the woods, hunting whitetail deer. And so the woods and the outdoors just became a place that I was always comfortable in, always enjoyed, and realized that like that was my place where, I could see the beauty of God's creation and just be able to be still and appreciate the little details like the depths of the trees and the sunset and where, time just slows down in the woods. And so I wanted to, pictures and videos never really do justice. Like you can take a picture of the sunset at the beach, and unless you're standing there in the sand, it doesn't really have that effect. So I was like, that's my way, man. I got to just bring people out here and immerse them into the experience.
Yeah,
Can
that's
you
awesome.
touch on what that? Can you
No, go
touch on
ahead.
what that experience is a little bit like, or like what when you take your clients out there, is it that they come to you struggling with something, whether that's physically, mentally, and you tailor it around them, or is it a community of people, 5, 10 people that you take out into the woods for these retreats?
Yeah. So my first retreat was it just ended this past Sunday.
Okay.
So that was my first one I was able to execute. And, and it was just a building process up until that point. Right. And yeah, I want it to be catered to the people that have always had the desire or never actually gotten the opportunity to be in the outdoors. And I'm like, come as you are, basically.
Yep.
If you're dealing with something that, you want to increase your spiritual walk, or maybe you're just dealing with a lot of noise in your everyday life, or you just want to get more familiar with how to camp, or, you never set up a tent before, you don't know how to camp in the woods or take a dump in the woods. Like, I want to be that guy that kind of shows you what the outdoors is all about. And, all of that side of things, like the logistics side of things, like the gear and everything, guys typically really like. But it's then you go to bed at night and you realize like you're a little bit vulnerable, like you're out there with the wildlife, you're hearing the wind howling, something's rustling in the leaves next to you. So kind of breaks you down a little bit. And then you wake up and see the sunrise coming through the trees and fog's lifting off the water. And there's nothing like that, man. There's just something spiritual, like super primal about the whole experience that until you do it, like it's kind of hard to explain. So that's the people that I'm going after, is like the people that see my post or they have an interest in it and they're like, I think there's something to that. And then just provide an opportunity for them to experience it full force.
Where were you guys at on this last one?
In the Ozarks of Arkansas, so the Ozark National Forest. Yeah, and I specifically designed this retreat to be like peak week for the fall colors in the Ozark Mountains, and it was, dude. Yeah. Actually brought along Charlie Garwood on this first one to capture the story, and man, he did it brought the drone out, his camera. Yeah, it
I
was
was
awesome.
wondering if Charlie was there just because he wanted to go, because that's kind of his thing too, or if he was
Mhm.
there specifically to capture footage and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he actually hit me up and was like, dude, I would love to basically come help you out. And this being the first one, I think and I was thinking the same thing, like the content would just set my retreat
Hmm.
business up really well to pull some content in the story about what Rove is about out of the very first one going forward. Yeah, but he actually hit me up. But I had told my wife in the past, I was like, I want Charlie to definitely be on a trip. And I don't know how to approach it. Like, Charlie's always got a camera in his hand. So I don't know if I want to tell Charlie to like, leave your camera behind, dude. Just take a little break. And then when he hit me up and he was like, dude, I want to shoot this for you, I was like, I'm all in, dude. I'm
Yep.
definitely all in. So,
That's
and
dope.
the thing about Charlie, what's cool is like, that's his comfort zone, is like with the camera in his hand. And it doesn't bother him at all. Like he was still fully immersed in the trip, providing so much perspective and intuition. It was awesome. Yeah. Great guy to have.
Yeah, I love Charlie. He's the man.
He really is. You guys have a pretty cool background together as well, like going through the trenches at IVB. That was
Hmm.
fun to hear those stories. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I've probably been with him or I've known him for like 6 years. So he's moving to Colorado Springs soon. So I'm excited to be
Mhm.
like an hour away again, like where we can like reconnect. That's gonna be dope.
Yeah. I can't wait to see you guys team up again, just kind of rekindle that fire that, just logistically there was some distance there.
Yep,
But I can definitely tell like your friendship with Charlie like meant a lot to him. So that's awesome to see you guys together again.
for sure.
Is he the one that was at the retreat with you for Zach's that was
Yeah.
taking the pictures?
Yeah, he
Okay.
was like Zach's right hand man like the whole time I was there. Like he came on the team like a few months before I moved there.
Okay,
He
that's
actually
dope.
kind of stole the job that I was originally interning for,
Yeah.
but we made it happen.
So I don't think I've heard the story, and if it's been on the podcast previously, how Dylan and Freddie met. How did you guys team up?
I met I met Dylan at one of his rap concerts out in Cleveland,
I used to
Ohio,
be a
baby.
rapper in a past life.
No way.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
Oh, let's do some digging, man. We got to throw up. I'm sure there's some videos.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
there's definitely there's one like actual video, like a shot music video.
I
But
did
then
not know
there's
this about you.
yeah,
you got to
it's not
hear his
very public.
you got to hear his Thanksgiving song. It'll be dropping soon, and
Yeah. I
I'll
share it
pull up
every
the
year.
podcast clip. Yo.
Yeah.
I can't wait, dude. That's epic, man. Cool.
Yeah,
It's
no, so he we had a group of friends back home, high school friends that were friends with Dylan, and then they were friends with me when we met at the high school. And literally that night we met. I don't even think we remembered each other. I mean, I knew that I went, but I don't think Dylan
Yeah.
remembered me at that time.
No, that was my
And
first show ever, so I definitely remembered everyone who was there. You know what's crazy? I just thought about this. The dude who's in our DTI group who always is preaching about no shoes was at that same show.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh
cool.
shit, that's a small world. But yeah, then one thing led to another. I got closer with that group of people, and then next thing you know, I meet Dylan and his fucking wild dad, Tommy T, who was just he would always give me fucking shit and still does to this day when we were together. And so I honestly remember Tommy T more than like Dylan memories in the beginning when all of our like friends would get together because their parents were friends and all that. Um, and then there was just something as we were growing up. I noticed that I was talking to Dylan more and more, and Dylan was obviously posting on social media a lot. But at this point, we had been going out together, hanging around the same group of
Dude, I'm
people.
thinking about it. It's funny, like that this because we really haven't ever really spoke about this on the
Yeah.
podcast. But it's
Mhm.
funny that this is the time because when we first started hanging out, we'd only see each other like 2 or 3 times a year camping. We would go as a
Yeah.
group, like
Wow.
Yeah.
on camping trips. Like my parents and all of their friends, like I was friends with their kids. We were all in the same age group. So it's like we'd all just go and then everyone like bring random friends. And so like we'd just see each other there. And then like it just slowly developed from there. But it is funny like that it's full circle, like on a whole camping thing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. So how many guys are like kind of in the DTI circle?
I don't know how to like really explain the circle. It's like me and him are the only ones who like actually run it.
Yeah.
Like we have like a group of friends and then we just did like a 50-day challenge where we had like 25 people in there.
Oh,
And so
dope.
like that's like the core group, but we're always pulling people in. Everybody's
Yeah,
part of the DTI circle.
we
That's
like
awesome.
launched this about like 8 or 9 months ago. We wanted to bring awareness to mental and physical health, because I think that there's a huge gap in that industry. I think that everybody and their moms should work out or do some sort of physical exercise. When I say work out, that can be simply getting 10,000 steps a day. That can simply be going for a bike ride, whatever that looks like for you, but some sort of activity. And I went through like a really low point about 2.5 years ago in my life. And I realized that the gym was like my therapy, my like saving grace. Is like I would
Mm,
go in there and I would just let it all out. And one thing led to another. And I was like, damn, there's something here. And Dylan was always posting like workout content or, positive things. And so I told him for like 6 months to a year, I was like, I have this idea. I think that we can like start something together, start this movement, this brand, all this stuff. And so he finally pushed it out of me because I would just keep pushing it off. And we finally like got together and we started formulating it. And 2023, I think we learned a lot this year, because
mm,
we've been training clients and stuff like that. But that's not our main goal, is only the personal side of it, the or personal training side of it. And so although that's been fun and we've had success in that, and we've built a great foundation even just talking to people online to let them know our message and what we want to do. But what we have planned for 2023, I think, is just gonna like bring all of this, what we learned together, to really like push our main message. And that's just to look at like life at a whole. I always say, like, let's take this filters off of life, because we live in a world where social media puts all these filters on life, on what
mm.
happiness looks like, on what you need to live by, on what you need to do day to day. And it's like, where did it go where we remembered what kept us happy? And it's those little things that we do. And so we just want to make people realize how important and valuable life is, because my father passed away when I was 20 years old. I had grandparents that passed away that I was super close with. I had some of my good friends growing up pass away from stuff. And so I've just really learned, and I think Dylan has too, and this is why we go or like pair so well together, is that we learned how short life is. And I feel like nobody lives in the moment anymore. And we're always constantly chasing something until that tragic thing happens in your life. And then you get grounded and you're like, fuck, why wasn't I doing this? Why didn't I take the time to make that phone call to my mom, my brother? Why didn't I take the time to care for myself more? Why didn't I do all of these things? And so it's like, let's take a step back, because life is moving so fucking fast, and just start appreciating it. Whether that's the leaves changing outside, the weather changing, getting new jobs, moving out of your hometown, whatever it is, and start appreciating those things to make this whole world a better place.
Wow.
So,
I love that, man. That was a huge premises of my retreats as well. Like, and I told the guys at the very beginning of the retreat is, there's not going to be any cell phone signal the entirety that we're out in the woods, and that's kind of
mm-hmm.
by design, right? And just try not to anticipate. Like, I didn't tell the guys what the itinerary was. I was like, try not to anticipate what's next or what's coming forward. Like that's our normal everyday routine, right? And it's we're always just kind of in the moment, but also thinking about, okay, I got to get this done next. And there's
Mm-hmm.
an anxiousness that kind of follows that. And being grounded, like you mentioned, is just kind of goes right to uh, into the barefoot side of things as well. Like, it's kind of hard not to be present when you're barefoot, but if you can literally be exactly mentally where your feet are planted, that's huge in the modern world, is because
Yeah.
you know we a lot of times, like, we don't even know that we're standing up or sitting down because we're so distracted,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always so much influx of noise. And to realize, like, this moment right now, like, we just sat on these bluffs right next to this flat water creek and watched the stars, man, for hours on this retreat. Just laughed, shared stories, and forgot about everything, everything, and
Yep.
just lived in the moment. And that's exactly what I tried to facilitate. So I am 100% like behind that mission you guys are trying to accomplish. I love that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's cool because this whole community that I'm going to say we all have, because I want to be in this community that you guys have built and the people that you have around. Excuse me. And I think that all of us have the same drive, but we're all vastly different in the different communities or people that we're targeting, which is so fucking cool. But we all have the same end mission, and that's just to make everybody better, to be better, to make this world a better place, to enjoy it. But you mentioned the stars and looking at those. I just went home about a month ago, and I live in Dallas, Texas right now, in the heart of the concrete jungle, buildings all around, lights all around. I don't think I've ever seen a star here unless I went to my uncle's house, who lives out in the suburbs of
That's insane,
Texas.
dude.
Wow.
Yeah, I went home, and like on my mom's property where she lives, they have like grandmother suite or mother-in-law suite in the back, and that's where my grandmother lives. And so I landed at about 8:45, got to my mom's around 10 because we went and stopped and got food when I landed. And she's like, let's go say hi to Granny. And I was like, all right. So we're walking back there. And I literally looked up and I had to stop and just look because it was like you said, it was like a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh my God. And I just sat there with my mom, talking to her, looking at these stars, looking around like I've never seen them in my life. And I was like, damn, we really lose some of the like little things in life. Like I didn't
Mm.
think 4 months ago, like, damn, I haven't seen a star in a while. But when I went there, I was like, whoa, this is magical. And so it's just so crazy. The little things that this world gives us, we just kind of look past. It's even with like fall and the leaves changing. I feel like ever since I started focusing, I think Dylan and I picked it up at like the same time, but like on faith a little bit more. I started trying to like connect to the world around me and actually see what's going on around me.
Mm.
And it's just fascinating to see what this world is doing. And we just kind of like walk past it every day like it's not even happening.
Yeah, and it's almost like a task almost to try to create that space in our everyday lives. Like you kind of have to work towards that. You have
Hmm.
to intentionally probably go on a walk without your phone,
Yep.
and it you're actually looking up and watching the people around you and what's going on around you. It can be a task. Like, so in y'all's lives currently right now, what are some of the things that you guys kind of work towards to try to eliminate some of that noise and just to create intentional time, like maybe being still or alone?
I strangely, this is like one of my favorite times because it's kind of like you said, like if you can just get your mind to be where your feet are, like in this present moment, when like we're having these conversations, there's no other like distractions going on. It's like we're intentionally like talking to you right now. And that's
Hmm.
something that like for me is super hard to come by like in the real world because everybody's got their phone in their hand or they're just not paying attention. Something else has their attention. And like here it's like we can have like these deep conversations and get more out of an hour than most people get out of a week with people that they spend all their time with. But other than that, it's just going on walks, like you said, stuff like that. Like I make sure I go for 2 walks a day and I leave my phone at the house and I just try to go. And whether that's with me or if my girlfriend Dom comes with me, like then it's just like our time to like just connect and just be outside at the same time.
Yep. I go on walks quite often. I wish that there was more areas around, which I'll be moving to North Carolina in 2 weeks from today, actually. And so there's more areas there that aren't as noisy as where I'm at right now. So there's a trail by me that I go on almost every single day, but it's just hard to kind of disconnect because there's so many people and dogs and cars driving by and all of that. But I got really big into meditating about a year and a half ago.
Mm.
It kind of fell off like 7, 8 months ago, and I started picking it back up. But that's one thing I really try and do and preach is meditation, because there's a secret power in that once you start doing it, it's like super weird in the beginning, and you're like, what am I doing? Why am I laying here? And most people have this narrative that you got to sit in a corner and cross your legs or whatever it is. But once you start getting in the rhythm and you start training your brain to actually be able to meditate, it's wild the effects that I've seen. So like even if it's I'm having a disagreement with somebody or something at work aggravates me, I feel like I can now process it before I actually show the emotions or before I jump at it. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. Let me handle it this way. So meditation and journaling have been two of the big things that I do to kind of like disconnect for a little bit.
Yeah, man, I relate heavily to that aspect. at that, I mentioned to you guys earlier, like the last year of me being in home health, I was really burnt out, and my wife was going to PTA school. So during the week, she would live with her grandparents, and then on the weekends she would come home, just because the college was like 2.5 hours away, a little bit too far for her to drive back
Mm.
and forth every day. So my rock wasn't home, and we got married in 2020, and here she is in 2021. She's basically, we're separated long distance to an effect,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
during that time away, man, I was burnt out with my job. I was just sad because my wife was gone. Like, 2, 3 beer at night turned into 4 or 5, and it's like fell out of the gym. Just I was at a low point, man, just kind of lost. And then when we sold everything and left Arkansas, at that point, I think me changing environments was exactly what I needed to kind of pull me out of that. And as soon
Hmm.
as we got to Florida, my parents, we live with my parents in Florida. There was this undeveloped neighborhood that they were living in, but they had cut these nature trails through this undeveloped neighborhood, a couple of ponds. And dude, I would just go on at least 2 walks a day, and I'd go out there, pray, meditate,
Hmm.
bunch of rounds of Wim Hof. And I think through those like very primal tools like breath, sunlight, meditation, grounding, whatever it was, I just reconnected with my faith and with God. And like I found myself during those 2 months, because it was about 2 months before we actually got jobs when we got to Florida. And so I just had space for the first time in a long time. And I took full advantage of that. And that's when I like hit up Zach for business coaching. And it was just like the spark of where I'm at now for sure. So I'm so thankful for just those basic little things, man.
Yep.
They can create major change.
Yeah. It's wild the impact they have. And again, they're, at least for me and the people that I say try to push it on, not like push it on that sense, but just like educate and let them know like the benefits and what can come from it.
Mm.
I feel like it's so odd to get over that first hump, because I don't know if you remember the first day you tried to meditate, what it was like or how you did it. But for me, I was like, wow, this is really weird. What am I doing? And then I just stay consistent with it. And I remember one day I like got done meditating and I was like, holy shit, I feel like a different person. And it just like my whole body was relaxed. And then you start learning and you start picking up on it and you learn how to like disconnect but be aware. So yeah, I don't know, it's just fascinating. I don't know, Dylan, have you gotten into meditation at all? I know we talked about it once on the podcast, but
Yeah, I mean, I have. And then obviously, like, similar to you, I fell out of it. But
Mhm.
during this last challenge we did, like, it was a requirement that at least 3 days a week we had to do meditation. And I don't like, I don't know if it's just me. I don't like sitting down, like, just sitting meditation. It just doesn't do anything for me. So, like, I've kind of more looked into like walking meditations, whether it's guided or not. It's just like leave everything at home. Obviously, if it's guided, I can't, but like, I don't touch it. And it's just like I'll
Mhm.
just go on a walk. And that's the cool thing about where I'm at is I don't have distractions. There's barely anybody on the trails. I'm like right in the mountains. So it's really cool. And then it's like I can just shut everything off. So I do it more so that way. But I've also
Mhm.
found more like as I get into faith, that my meditation just ends up turning into prayer anyways. So like it
Yeah.
has that same like effect of like alleviating everything that I've been stressed about. But I've just found that and journaling have both just kind of just trended that way where it's like I start out doing one thing and by the end of it I'm just talking to God.
Yep.
Yeah, I relate to that heavily, man, for sure. Journaling is such an underrated tool. And I
Yeah, it
think a
is.
lot of people, they get hung up on kind of that, and almost like what you were talking about with meditation, like getting over that little hump. I just talked
Mhm.
to Mike Donatelli, I think it was yesterday, and he briefly just made a super brief statement about how starting a business in the beginning can be very clunky. And after I hung up the phone with him, I was like, dude, it's like a square wheel on a car, right? So, in the beginning, if you're riding on square wheels, it's like super hard to ride, and
Mhm.
it's super clunky. And then, but as you continue on those square wheels and you're riding on that asphalt, eventually those square wheels are going to start smoothing off a little bit. Then you have like an oval, and then pretty sure, that oval turns into that circle, and then things smooth off a little bit. So you have to get past that clunkiness with anything, like with
Yeah.
journaling, meditation, or whatever it might be, business, in order to, really see the results. But it's the relentless pursuit, and that applies to so many things.
We talk about it
Yep.
all the time. I think it's just like getting uncomfortable. It's like these are
Mm.
things that weren't present in your life before. So obviously adding them in isn't going to feel normal. It's not going to feel comfortable. But like anything else in life, it's when you get uncomfortable that's when you start to realize, oh, this is what I should have been doing all along.
Yep.
Yep. And where I'm at now is so much of an evidence of that, dude.
Yeah.
For sure. Feels good because, and I think a lot of people kind of feel unfulfilled when they start a new task or they start a new routine, and they get to that point of resistance and they just kind of phase out. And that lingers in the back of their mind. Like that's kind of a failure almost. And they
Mm-hmm.
start to identify with, man, anything I start, like I don't really actually accomplish. And that leads to a ton of unfulfillment. But if you actually see something through, like with Rove, that was an idea I had like at the beginning of 2020. And like we tried to build a website 3 or 4 times. We had no clue how to run a business or anything. And then flash forward to basically the beginning of this year, it's like Rove actually came into existence. And to see that fulfillment and like to launch merch off of Rove, and I've got my first retreat under my belt. Holy crap, man. The mission, dude. It's becoming reality, and there's so much fulfillment within that. So it can take years, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just part of it.
Yes, it can.
Yeah. I mean, during that process, it's normal to get like burnout. It's normal to be like, God, I don't think this is going to work. And it's normal to have those times where you're like, you know what, I might throw the cloth in. But I think we were talking like 2 weeks ago, when you really find your why, when you really find your passion, when you really find like that message that you want to give, there's not going to be those things that come into mind where I'm going to throw this cloth and I'm going to give up, I'm going to quit, because you know that it's going to impact somebody, you know, it's going to impact the world. And as we talk all the time, and knowing that, you know, Zach and Mike and all those people, it's not about the million followers. It's not about a million people on this platform or that. It's having that core group of people that, you know, are riding with you, that know that, you know, they can trust you in this message, in this better life, all this stuff. And so we were just talking about some of our content because we recently increased that. And I told him, I was like, man, I was like, you know, it feels good, even if one post doesn't get a lot of interaction or likes or this or that, but somebody DMs you. They're like, hey, man, I'm really struggling with this. How did you get over it? I saw that you posted this in your video. I'd like to like learn more about it. And you're like, that's what matters. Because guess what? That one person, if I can impact him or her a little bit, then they're going to talk about it with somebody else. And next thing you know, that's how that community forms, is those one or twos that are coming in the back end that nobody's seen on the front end. And just remembering like why you started this in the first place, and remembering like what's important to you, so that way you can keep spreading it. Because it's so easy to fake things and put things out there that people want to see with social media, but you'll get burnt out of it at some point in the game if it's not coming naturally, if it's not a passion of yours. And so that's what I think is so cool about just everyone that we have on here. It doesn't matter if they're 20 years old or 55 years old. Everybody's got that purpose, and they have a story of where they got there and how they got there, which I think is the powerful thing. And so I'm excited to have some of those people back on so we can dive deeper, because even meeting you the first time, it's like, okay, yeah, we get to know each other at a surface level, but it's not like, oh, we're going to get down real deep and gritty the first time. We might, but like, how is that? And so we just build on these relationships with these people that we meet. And it's really fascinating and cool to hear the stories and see what motivates other people. Because like I said, at the end of the day, all of our stuff is coming together at the point, and that's just to leave this world a better place, and to really like show people what's important.
Wow, dude. Man, what you two have going on is very exciting. I like the fact that you are going to bring people back on to dive deeper. I'm not aware of any podcast that has like reoccurring guests, except for maybe like the Rogan Experience.
Right.
And that's just with his main buddies, right? But to continue to like kind of pour into one another, and you can just kind of see the relationship via audio, or if you're watching,
Mm-hmm.
that relationship continue to build. And like but also like these people are going to have real life struggles that they're going to encounter between their first podcast to the second podcast. And then you guys will get to share perspectives on, what may have gone wrong or what's gone right during that period of time. And then
Mhm.
following up and building that relationship. It's just like any relationship, right? Like but I think that's a great idea going forward that you guys are going to do that. I look forward to that.
Yeah, we even talked about like once like we've got because we have like a core group of people that we definitely want to get on. And so
Mhm.
like we're getting like these people on, but then even just to talk about like current event type things that need different perspectives. Cause me and Freddie come from the same place. Sure, like we've experienced different things, but like for the most part, we think alike on a lot of things. So being able to kind of bring people in and even when we sit down, like we just kind of throw out a topic and then we just kind of riff back and forth. But even if we could just bring on one or two other people, like if there was
Mhm.
even you and somebody else we've had on, who it's likely somebody you already know and fuck with anyways. But if we could just get on and just kind of have like an open discussion about things, it's going to bring a lot more perspective than just me and Freddie talking back and forth.
Yeah, and that's what's so important, man, is because there's so much diversity in this world and people don't realize how beautiful that diversity is because
Yep.
that's where you learn so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's what I love about online coaching and classes is because when you compare it to college, you're only limited to you can take a class from maybe one or two professors, right? But online, you can take a class or learn anything from anybody and you can pick and choose like who you're a right fit with. And if y'all vibe, then it's almost impossible not to learn and to grow with
Yep.
that person. So
Mhm.
that's what I really love about the online aspect of community for sure.
I think we kind of had talked about this beforehand, me and you, about how we were kind of going to explain like what's coming next, which we haven't said this on the podcast. So you're going to get like an exclusive look here. But
Let's
we plan
go.
on announcing it like around the time that this drops anyway. But that's essentially like what we're trying to create here. Like Freddie said earlier, we've seen success coaching people one on one, but it's mainly personal training. And it's like it's very hard to tap in one on one with someone that you don't know on a personal level to kind of break through like that mental and like the vulnerabilities, things they struggle with. So what we want to do is create that community. So we're basically just going to kind of build out like this. I mean, I'm sure you've been in small groups, but it's more like we don't want this to be like, hey, here's 12 weeks and now you're gone. Like we want to foster like a group for 12 weeks and then keep them in so that they can help us like build up these new people. And so it's basically just literally looking at lifestyle as a whole, like actual physical fitness, mental health, like things you struggle with, habits, routines. It's just taking it all together because it's all intertwined. And there's not enough of that out there. I feel like it's all very niche, very one off. And then you go to somebody else for something else. But if we can bring everything together and help optimize people as individuals within a community, I think that's where we're going to see the greatest impact that we can provide.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, how can that fail, man? You have so much intention and intimacy within that. And, you there's not quite as much of a separation barrier because you're poured into the same people and
Mm-hmm.
just conversating. It's like going to a restaurant and just because, there's people all around you at other tables doesn't mean that they're sitting at your table listening to this conversation, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome, dude.
Yep.
Congrats on that. That's so freaking exciting.
Thanks, man. We're pumped. I mean, we're gonna do very intentional one-on-one things because I feel like I mean, you were at Do Hard Things. It's like all it takes is one person to break down and like be open and vulnerable, and then the whole room's doing it. So if we
Yeah.
can kind of foster that relationship between Freddie and myself and this one person, we're gonna do like 10 individual calls and 10 weekly calls or 10 group calls over a 12-week period. So we're gonna really get to know these people. And then
Mm.
so if we can connect with them on a one-on or a two-on-one level, then it's just going to make them feel more comfortable when we go into a group setting. And all it takes is us getting one person to just open up. And I know the floodgates are going to open. And that's when everybody, ourselves included, like this isn't like we don't have all the answers. Like I'm trying to grow from this selfishly as much as I'm trying to help other people grow.
Mhm.
Yeah. There was a lot of evidence of that on my retreat. We were first day in. Um, Everybody's like unfamiliar with one another. We've never spent much time in person together. Me and Charlie had met briefly at the conference as well, but
Mm-hmm.
the other two guys that came along the retreat too, it's like it just takes a little bit of time. And then that one person opened up, Ronald, I think was the first one to kind of open up a little bit. And dude, the layers are like an onion. You just start
Yo.
peeling back the layers. And then before we left the woods, man, everybody's so deeply connected. You just feel like you can reach out to a brother, after the fact.
Yeah.
We're all, Charlie's back in, Kentucky right now. Ronald's back in North Arkansas. I'm down here in South Arkansas, and the other guys in North Arkansas too. So just the fact that like we had this kind of an intimate group conversation, we're sharing wins, we're sharing struggles still. I love that aspect of it. Yeah, community is something, man. I think the conference was a huge evident to me. Like, man, community is such a necessity, and I think this will be the first time publicly I've talked about this. Is that necessity for community is something that my wife and I have recently come together and really talked about and realized. So, like a lot of y'all have seen that me and Aubrey had the intentions of building out a school bus and like traveling the country in that, which the travel aspect of our mission is still going to continue, but we're not so sure that the bus is going to be the outlet for that, which is fine. Like I saw a couple of tweets of just hit me right in the face of saying like sometimes you have to pursue something to realize that it's not quite the right avenue. You have to pivot. It's not necessarily a failure, but you learn from that, or you know, a new direction or a new path will definitely present itself. So I had a buddy that just so happened to have a rent house that is just down the road from a church that I went on a local men's retreat through. And that community and brotherhood from that retreat specifically has impacted me massively. And it's after the conference, after going to that retreat, it's just in my head, community, community, community. And then I felt this super strong pull to continue to build a local community here in Arkansas. So it's like, I'm not sure. And my wife is like getting ready to have a kid. And then in the back of my mind, I'm ready to kind of start a family too. So being a little bit more stable, like having a kid in a bus would be super challenging. I'm not doubting that it's possible.
Be a pretty cool story.
It would. But I think we're just going to settle for a little bit, and maybe we'll keep the bus and build it out. And it's something we travel in over time. But, you know, it's kind of hitting the back burner as far as compared to starting a family. So
Yeah.
I'm excited
Dude,
about that.
I literally went through the same thing as far as traveling goes. My girlfriend's a travel nurse. So, like, we basically moved to Denver on a travel assignment, and we were going to set up home base. And then we're like, we're just going to hop around for a few years. Like, she's younger than I am, so she's not in a rush to start a family. But I'm like, all right, let's do this. So we went to Arizona right before Do Hard Things. And by the time we got back, we're like, you know what? I just want to be here. I don't want to go anywhere else. It took one assignment. It was like 2.5 months. We're like, you know what? Well, let's just set up home base right here. So I definitely relate to that aspect a lot.
Yeah. So Freddie, you said you're headed to North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yep.
What was the pull out there?
I want to get closer to family and friends. So my mom's out in Oak Island a lot. It's only an 8-hour drive to my hometown, 6 hours to where I went to college. Two of my best friends are out there. My girlfriend is a twin, and so her twin's moving out there as well. She's in Portland right now. And so it's kind of I mean, Charlotte is still a big city. But the area we are going to be living in feels a lot smaller, feels a lot homier. There's a lot more green around than there is. And it's not as big as Dallas. So it still has like the hometown feel of like Ohio. And so the main thing is just getting closer to my family. I mean, that's one thing probably the biggest thing in my life, and the reason and the things that keep me going is my family. And so being across the country from them, I have an uncle out here, but being across the country from my mom, my sister, my granny, like you guys are talking about, you know, everyone's getting older. Sister's going to be trying to have a baby. My granny's almost 90 years old next year. So just want to get closer to them and be able to have another means to get home other than a plane. And so an 8-hour drive is not that bad, but a 18-hour drive is. So
I can't wait until you're bitching about this drive, bro, and you just keep buying plane tickets. I'm going to pull up this clip and send it right to you. You're not ever driving home, bro.
Blow this part up. I will fly every fucking time, but Lauren will make me drive because of Decker.
Okay.
And so that's our
Okay.
dog. And so
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why I would drive. It would not be by choice. That's for
Uh,
sure. So yeah, it's just get closer to family, see something different. Like Dylan said, I want to live in like one or two more places. But I could see Charlotte being somewhere that I stay at for a while now.
I'm curious to hear y'all's opinion on the importance of like leaving home for a while.
Do it.
Like
It should be a law.
yeah, after high school, like I moved away from my hometown and I don't think I've been back but like once, maybe twice. And those were for like my sister's graduation and like to
Yeah.
help my parents
How
move.
old are you?
26.
Okay. I see
Yeah.
the long hair and the beard, and it makes me feel like we're like the same age, but we're not. Apparently, I'm older.
Oh yeah, how old are y'all?
I'll be 29 in like 3 weeks.
I'm 28.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah. And but yeah, just to go back to like the necessity to leave home, there's so much of a world that you have to branch out at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yep.
not against like totally never coming back home, but you really got to
I am.
separate.
Yeah, I think it should be a new law that we put in place that you have to leave your hometown for a year.
Mm,
Um, and you can't go back because you learn a lot that first year when you step away from your hometown, when you step away from the comfort of knowing everyone around you, knowing where everything's at. But it is just, we had a buddy, and I will die happy one day knowing that we got our core group. There's only one more that we need to get out, but we got our core group all out of our hometown. And it's just it's awesome to see. I mean, I think we're very blessed to have the friend group that we have, because whether it's physically, mentally, we are always pushing each other. We're checking in on each other. We're doing the shit talking that we need to do. We actually have something coming up that's going to publicize that and put it out on social
Mm-hmm.
media. But um, my one buddy Matt, I mean, it's just it's crazy to see his journey, his story. It's crazy to see my buddy Tones. It's crazy to see mine. It's crazy to see Dylan's. But the fact that we got, and it's not we, I say we because Tone went away to college. Then that motivated me to go away to college. And then we're both out at college. And it motivated us to then move out of our hometown and did this and this and this. And everything is happening. And so the friends that are back home are like seeing us and they're like, oh, damn, like, look how happy they are. They come and visit us. They're like, damn, this is what life has to offer outside of Ohio, whether that's in Colorado, Dallas, Chicago, wherever it is. And then they start getting the itch and they're like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I should see what it's like. And then they come visit it again. And so it's just like, you can see it once you're out of it, you can see it and you can start seeing people like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can try this. And then they do it and they go through those ups and downs of, I got to move back home. I'm too far away. Oh my God, this person's not right here with me. And then they get to the good part of it and they're like, oh, this is why I did this. This is why I moved away. And so it's just, it's cool to see the growth that we have, that other people have when they move away from their hometown, and just to see how their lives develop. Because again, like you said, it doesn't need to be permanent, but I think that the lessons it teaches you, it's no education, no job, no anything can teach you that about yourself.
I think more than anything, you learn so much about yourself. You've grown up in this place where most of the time everyone has the same mindset. Like my parents have had the same friends their entire life. All their friends work in the same places or the same types of places and have the same point of view. You never have anybody challenging you there. You're just kind of stuck in this bubble of, we're all the same. But in reality, like we're not all the same. And if you get out even for a little bit, you're going to see that there is a vastly different population of people out here. I remember I went away my first time from Cleveland. I moved straight after high school. I went to OU in Athens, Ohio. And Southern Ohio is so different than Northern Ohio. And like we come from Cleveland. I'm Puerto Rican. Everybody there was like just the whitest people ever. And not even like that. Obviously, we got super white people in Ohio, like Northern Ohio too. But it was like they couldn't even. I had like minority scholarship, and I felt out of place in both places because I would be like in my dorm of all white kids, and I would say I was going there, and like, what are you going there for? I'm like, well, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm going over here. And then I would show up and I'm one of like 3 people who's not black in this minority scholarship. So I was like, whoa, this is like both sides of this is completely different for me. I feel like I don't belong in either one. So even then, I didn't stay there for more than a year, but I didn't go home. I went to an hour and a half away from home, finished school there. Then I moved to Indy. Then I moved back home for like 6 months, moved to Columbus. And then on a whim, I moved out here. And now I've been here for a year and a half, and I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. But every
Mhm.
single place was a completely different environment, a completely different group of people who viewed me differently, who made me view myself differently, and just pushed me like out of this box that I may have thought I belonged in. And then it just helped me develop myself over time, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you on like even just cross state is there's such a difference there because
Yep.
once I moved away from my super southern Arkansas town and went to basically middle of Arkansas, it was so dramatically different. And then, man, that is so true. And you know what's hard is to see the people that are kind of still in that cycle in your hometown, and you love those people and you wish the best for those people, and it's tough to like to see them kind of still being there. You know, I'm almost 10 years out of high school almost, and you're just like, man, if they had the opportunity or took the chances I did, I think this person would be thriving right now. But
Yep.
it's hard to portray that. Like Freddie was saying, man, you just that's a tough battle.
I think that's the hardest thing for me is like I have friends who went away to college and then moved home, but like I just have all these people and they just I don't know, they just got wrapped right back up into the same old shit that we were doing in high school. And every time I go home, we have the same conversations, we go to the same places. They're bitching about the same thing that they've been bitching about for 10 years. And any one of my friends who lives anywhere else doesn't have any of that. That's not to say they don't have their own issues and their own problems, but it's at least a new problem every now and again. I'm not hearing the same thing for 10 years, man. It's insane.
Yeah, I think Facebook is a good portraying of
I
that.
love
Like
watching Facebook. I just love
man,
watching people from high school on there.
yeah. And I've avoided Facebook for so long. And I think I even tweeted this maybe a day or two ago that it's just become such a place of negativity. And I've always avoided it because of that. But I think it's like I recently just realized that I need to become a light in that community. And I'm just going to basically take a lot from Twitter, which is this
Oh
circle
yeah.
of Twitter is so positive, and just dump it on there and
Yep.
just constantly just try to, you know, maybe like we talked about earlier, it just hits one or two people, but that I'm fine with that. Like I want
Yep.
to make any type of impact I can.
Yep. That's all it takes, man. One or two, and then that one or two person's gonna tell somebody else, and it's just a triangle effect from or a snowball effect
Butterfly
from there.
effect. I was like a triangle effect. I never heard that
Yeah, I
one.
don't know what that would be. I do got a question for you.
All right.
Barefoot Will. I
Yeah.
was scrolling your go-to drinks when you eat pizza. One
I
I
saw
can
that.
agree with totally. The other one threw me off, man.
Okay. Which one threw you off? Obviously, it's the
The
milk one,
milk.
right?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So I don't know what about it, man. Like any type of spaghetti or pizza, like lasagna, even like tacos, like with salsa or something like that. Pour me a tall glass of milk, man, or a
Yeah, it's
beer.
insane.
I
A,
don't
a
know
beer
why.
makes so much sense.
It
Yeah.
does, it does, but so does milk. I mean, have you tried it before? Is my question.
No.
I don't think I've had a glass, and I am not knocking you. I just started laughing because it brought me back to like my childhood because I'm so old. I don't think I've had a glass of milk with my dinner until like my granny or my mom poured it for me back in the day when I was growing up. And so I saw that and I was like, okay, that's interesting.
And that's weird because like the only time I'm like really consuming milk is probably in a bowl of cereal. And
Yeah.
but unless some type of like I don't know, maybe
Unless we order
tomato
pizza.
based product. Yeah. I'm definitely
Babe,
pouring a
pick
tall
up the
glass.
pizza and the whole milk.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask Papa John's if they deliver instead of like a 2 liter of Coke or Pepsi.
You guys
If
got
they
any
could,
milk over there?
yeah. But I don't know, man. It's just I think that's kind of what the norm was in our household when I grew up
Yep.
and carried it with me, and I have no regrets.
It's not the first time I've heard it before, but it's definitely unique.
Oh, for sure.
I think it might be like a white person thing, to be honest.
Oh,
Because Dylan,
milk?
did you grow up? Yeah, did you grow up drinking milk like at dinner table with dinner?
I don't think I've ever had milk with dinner.
Yeah, bro. See, my
Really?
family, we always had milk with dinner growing up.
Same.
My
Always.
dad's white as hell.
I always think he's Puerto Rican.
No, bro.
I'll probably die
He told
thinking
me
he's
that
Puerto
about you.
Rican.
I was dying. He's just so tan.
He is. His dad's really tan, and he grew up on the south side of Lorraine, and
Which is
this whole ever since
super Hispanic.
yeah.
Like, because obviously he doesn't know the south side of Lorraine.
Sorry. Yeah. So it's really Hispanic. And just knowing Dylan, I thought like his whole family was Puerto Rican. And so I went golfing with his dad like 2-3 months ago when I was home. And I knew that they had a pool. So I was like, Tommy T, can you bring me some sunscreen? I was like, I know you probably don't have any. I was like, but my white ass needs some. And so we get there. He goes, here's some sunscreen. He's like, bro, I'm white. And I was like, what the fuck? It threw me for a loop. I did not know that.
Oh, that's hilarious. I think the only time in recent memory that I didn't have some milk was with spaghetti. Was right before we left Arkansas to move to Florida for a while. My neighbors knew that we were going to leave, and they're like, hey, man, we want to cook you guys dinner before you head out. Like, I was mowing the yard, and my wife was actually like, I think the neighbor came over and was like, hey, let's have dinner later. And my wife was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, let's meet up around this time. Well, they didn't actually establish, I guess, which household we were going to have dinner in. Our house was like, it was messy. Like, we had some dishes that we needed to do, and I was mowing the yard. It was just kind of maintenance day. So we figured we were going to their house. Well, next thing I know, I'm shutting off the mower, and I see his truck pulling in the driveway, full family. Well, they bring in a pot of spaghetti and set it on the counter. House is a little bit messy, whatever. Come on in. My wife takes the lid off of the spaghetti pot and was like, oh, hell yeah, I love feta cheese. And then I got to looking and I was like, wait a minute. And my neighbor stopped me. He was like, I know this is weird, but this is a tradition in like the Northeast. And there was whole boiled eggs in the spaghetti.
What the hell?
Yeah, just swimming around, bro. Like,
what? Were they like the meatballs?
No meatballs, just egg balls, I guess.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I didn't know. Like, I love to tell that story because I guess I'm searching for someone to relate that that's like a common thing, but I've never heard anybody else.
Did you eat it?
Oh yeah, I ate it.
I don't even like boiled eggs.
See, I was so frazzled, I didn't even think about getting a glass of milk. I think I had water or something.
That's the real moral of the story.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but yeah, man, he was like, it was okay. Like, it's just like eggs and boiled eggs and spaghetti. I don't know. It was weird, but I can't say I've tried it again now.
Yeah, I think I'm cool on ever trying that.
Yeah. It was
Are you spontaneous?
Where are you going with this?
I got somewhere I'm going with this.
That's a deep question if you think about it. But yeah, I mean, the past 2023 has been the year of spontaneous. Like, we've into 2021, we quit our jobs with no jobs lined up. We moved to Florida on a whim, like with no jobs lined up, and kind of started a whole business, quit our 9-to-5s, bought a bus, and now we're not maybe going to build a bus. So yeah, I would say lately for sure.
All right. I didn't know if we can, and you definitely don't have to, but I've been seeing that guitar in the mirror. And I didn't know if we could get a little live performance. First time on a DTI podcast, baby. Show us your skills, Barefoot Will.
I'm gonna admit, man, I cannot play the guitar. We're still in my mother-in-law's house because we were here just for the inner time to build the bus, and those are actually their guitars.
Oh man, I thought you for sure could bust out a good old guitar, maybe even a little what are they called? Banjo, yeah. I've been looking at those and I'm like, with the long hair and the beard, he probably can be fucking killer on the guitar.
That, I think it's gonna be a necessity with me, like guiding camping trips.
I was just thinking
learn how to play a guitar around the fire for sure.
Yeah, that would honestly be you could upcharge for that.
Yeah, I might actually, or maybe social proof is going to be like, once he brought out the
Yeah.
guitar, we kind of second guessed.
Just put on like one of those little signs that says like they could put tips in for requests.
Yeah, there we go. Oh man, you did call me out. That's hilarious, but I'm not going to embarrass myself like that. I do a good
I could have
enough job
edited
of
in
that
some
on.
real good playing there too.
Oh, you could some sound over, put some mayor in the background.
That'd have been
Oh, that's
good.
funny,
That would have been great.
man.
Well, Freddie, you got anything else for him?
No, we usually run these like 45 minutes to an hour.
We're definitely
like I
over an
said,
hour.
yeah,
Oh, no way.
I've enjoyed this.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
been fun, casual. There's definitely things that are still on my mind, but like we were
Mhm.
talking about, we want to have you back on. As you grow, we grow, and hopefully we can come back together with more knowledge and dive
I might
deeper
try to
into
come
some
on
of
this
the
camping
stories.
trip soon, man.
Yeah, bro.
Dude,
That'd be
let's
dope.
get a group from the DTI circle to come.
Yeah, that'd be
That would
awesome,
be
man.
dope.
Yeah, I'd love to provide that opportunity for you guys just to dive deeper into some of the circle for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
maybe
awesome.
2023 we can plan that. I think that'd be sick. A lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm about
Kinda-
to drop some dates for the trips to be filling up here in the next probably week. So
Cool,
gonna
cool.
get
I'll
some
keep
good
my eye out for
feedback.
that then for sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
That'd be
man,
awesome.
I'd love to have you. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
it
man.
has.
I've had a
Definitely have to
blast.
do it again.
I'd love it, man. Let's do it.
Well,
All right, well,
y'all know.
there
Go
you
ahead,
go.
Dylan. Take us
Oh,
out.
Oh, go ahead, man. It's all you. I brought us in. You can take us out.
There we go. Well, Barefoot Will, it's been a pleasure. Your story's awesome. The impact that you're going to leave on this world is awesome. And hopefully we can motivate each other to never stop, to never give up, because there is a lot of great things that us as a community, this Twitter circle outside of that, is all doing to lead to the end goal, and that's to leave this world in a better place than it is right now. So everybody, you know the deal. Subscribe, have the desire to inspire, and I always tell the people you love them. Have a good one.
Peace.
Let's do it.